44B, 44C1, 5, 44D1, 2, 48C, EFL, 49E, 62E2, 4, 64F, G, 71B1, 76C, and 82AB to allow mixed-use development containing 25 residential units and 400 square feet of commercial space to be located within 2 multifamily buildings and 4 townhouse structures with associated landscape and parking improvements to business A zone at 112125 Burtis, Cherry Street parking lot, parcel K. Ms. Kaufman.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you very much for arranging this special meeting and for your flexibility from the time that we filed to opening this hearing for us tonight. We very much appreciate the time and consideration given to us. And we'd like to maximize the time that we have now. So I will provide a brief opening and introduction to our team. And then because we do have most of our consultants here, one of which is on Zoom, right? Dave is not on Zoom tonight. Okay. So we are all here. You have. Do you need me to unmute it? It's okay. Okay.
And we're also getting, I'm sorry, we're getting reverb.
Bit of a feedback.
Doing it.
Yeah.
So I'd like to be able to have our consultants also provide some of their expertise and insight into their plans, and then to be able to use this this hour and any additional time you're able to afford us after that, after the 7 o'clock hour, to field your questions so that we can continue the meeting and be able to respond to both your questions and some of the staff comments that we've received from zoning staff and from DPW. My name is Jackie Kaufman. I'm an attorney with Carmody, Torrance, Sandak, and Hennessy with an office at 1055 Washington Boulevard in Stamford, Connecticut. Here tonight on behalf of Ventana 11 Burtis LLC, Ventana 2125 Burtis LLC, Ventana Cherry LLC, who collect, and the Cherry Street parking lot. This is inclusive of 11, 21, and 25 Burtis Street. We had the opportunity to speak with you earlier this year in a pre-application setting. We took some of the comments that you provided to us, incorporated them into the plan. Also had an opportunity to speak to some of our interested neighbors and to further our conversations with staff and with the fire marshal and DPW to bring the plan that is before you now. The applicant is represented tonight by Philip Palmgren, who is the owner, but also the developer and the architect, and his colleague Jennifer Aslani with Replace in New York City. Our engineering firm is VHB, represented tonight by Emma Brewer. SLR, our traffic engineers, represented by Emily Foster, and our landscape architect, represented tonight by Thomas Cross from Westtown Associates across the street. And then with me tonight is my partner, Mike Sweeney, and Rachel Breslin, our colleague and associate. If we can put up, Lynn, the first page of the document, I'd like to just orient you to the site. What you have before you is inclusive, as I just mentioned, of 4 parcels owned by the applicant and a small parcel that's located at the corner known as Parcel K. It's right on the curve of Cherry Street, which we'll see in a moment. But just as we're pulling that up, I'll advance the discussion. That's owned by the town of New Canaan. We currently have an 824 request into the town, and appraisal is being done. We've requested to purchase that. It's roughly 450 square feet. And it is, can't really point to it, but it's located right at that curve of Cherry Street, right before you, between the parking lot and the White House that you see there. And we'll see that soon as we advance the slides in a moment. And Mr. Sweeney is working with the town on that 824 application, which will advance and hopefully come before you in short order as soon as that appraisal is received, and we can move that forward. The site, the 5 pieces together contain 32,193 square feet. That's roughly 0.74 acres. You can see it's here located at the corner of Burtis and Cherry Street. It consists of one large commercial building, a surface parking lot, multiple other surface parking lots, and 2 residential structures and garage and outbuildings that have been converted to commercial uses. And fairly underutilized by standards within town. And the lot is occupied and unoccupied given any particular day. And it's a very prominent and exciting corner. And this is an opportunity now to contribute to the diversity of housing opportunity, to utilize some of your new regulations within the Business A zone. This site is interesting, and I apologize for the number of special permit and site plan sections that we had to use in this application. It certainly wins for the most number of special permit and site plan sections that we have had to cite to, but it is actually a complicated ask in terms of the number of sections that we need to go through procedurally, but it is a fairly simple plan, which is to merge the 5 parcels, remove and demolish the existing structures, and use it and redevelop the parcel with a multifamily uses, 4 townhomes and 2 commercial buildings. I'm sorry, excuse me, 2 residential buildings with a small ground floor commercial space. That actually differs from what you heard from us earlier in the year. We were including at the ground floor some different uses, including work-live component and different amount of retail. We heard what you had to say about that and eliminated that particular use in favor of uses that already exist. And also in a way, in a very smart way, to include the same amount of commercial square footage as exists today in the existing 11 Purtis. So we thought that would create a consistency with the uses and activity as to the commercial space, and also provide an opportunity to include the residential uses that are permitted as of right. But also very interestingly, we were using the underlying Business A zone. We will go through that entitlement chart after we talk to the design and to the overall concept of the building. I'll circle back to the commission and review the special permit asks and the procedural components of the application. But ultimately, it is a merger of opportunities present under the Business A zone and also under the Retail B zone. So these 2 sections have different opportunities for crossover and for development. We've seen those used throughout the downtown within the proximity of this site, and I think creates an exciting opportunity to create and right-size the redevelopment here. If we can go to the next slide, please. You can see here Business A is, thank you, Lynn. The Business A zone is represented in yellow, and Retail B in pink, which is a little further to the north. But this really sits in the heart of the Business A zone. It is surrounded on all sides by Business A zone, or otherwise by retail, by the Retail A zone. So we have a nice development here that I think meets the town plan of conservation and development, and is consistent with the zoning that surrounds the particular site. The development is known, and we call this out in our application right now, as the Quartier, or the Q, and it really draws inspiration from this corner, from the corner that it's on. And if we can continue to the next slide, please. And all of the new development that we've seen around it. This is a representation, or an aerial photo, which shows the surrounding area developments, but also the 2 multifamily buildings and the 4 townhomes that are proposed on the site. And you can see how it fits in here. And we'll talk a little bit about the circulation and its relationship to the surrounding streets in a moment. But what you can see here, and what this represents, is the connectivity of the neighborhood. As you've seen, several other multifamily developments go into the downtown. They really enliven it, enrich the pedestrian experience, creates an opportunity for synergy between the retail, commercial, restaurant businesses, and office businesses, and also the energy that exists within the downtown. It's designed in this sense to be pedestrian friendly. This shows you the corridor that one would take, the walking path to the train station. So it really supports this highly connected neighborhood, connects all of the amenities And the proposed architecture as well has been reviewed and refined in a way responsive to many suggestions that you've made to us. It looks to a traditional style of New England craft and intends to include locally sourced materials, including iron and field stone that can be found right here in New Canaan. Move to the next slide, please, Lynn. Just to provide you with a walkabout to the area, we were looking at a bird's eye view before, and this provides you with more of a pedestrian experience. And we can go through these quickly. We see Cherry and East and Main Street. We're looking here too to the architecture that surrounds us. Advance to the next slide. I don't mind if you go through these next few slides quickly, Lynn. Oh, we only had 2. There we go. But those are the materials that we have Elm Street and Forest Street we were just looking at as well. And we look to those soft muted colors and the natural materials that exist in and around this site. And that's what's been incorporated here. And our site plan is, which I'll keep up here. This is our site plan again. We have 2 multifamily buildings located. That's 11 Bertis there. And thank you, 21 to 25 Bertis there. And then 4 townhomes, 3 that will front Cherry Street and 1 that's interior. The site is intended to be accessed from Bertis Avenue with a one-way vehicular access from Bertis Street and out to Cherry Street. So as I said, that was one way in, one way out, and the recommendation is with a right turn only. If you can speak to that small little triangle in to the left of the exit area, right there to the left, down. There you go, right there. That represents parcel K. That's the 400 square foot small wedge that's owned by the town there. The proposal will include, we can actually, here we can see, here's our existing conditions. We can run through these here as well. That's the existing view from Cherry Street. We can go to the next, please. Here's a proposed view of the townhomes from Cherry Street. And go to the next one, please. Just an elevation, then to the next picture. Here's the existing view looking up from Bertis and Cherry Street. Intention is to maintain and keep that existing wall and some of the existing landscaping at the corner, trees. So you can see that's a very, very old wall there. And actually behind it, at some point, if you got close up, you could see behind the vegetation, actually, it doesn't include the natural field stone. There's existing native field stone, and the intention would be to maintain that wall, and anywhere where the field stone is missing to, you can advance that, please, Lynn. You can see on this rendering here to have that field stone continue. And so that is the proposed view from that section. If we could go back to the site plan too, just while we go over a few more things. So the two units include, or I'm sorry, the 2 multifamily buildings include a total of 25 residential units, and that has a mix of flats, 1 to 3 bedroom counts. And then the 4 townhomes include 2 single family townhomes and then 2 multifamily townhomes, also with a 1 to 3 bedroom count mix. In building number 11, which is the smaller of the 2 multifamilies, there's 400 square feet of ground floor commercial office space proposed. We're also calling that building 1. And also, you can see new perimeter landscaping throughout, keeping some of the existing landscaping where we can, and then also to introduce new street trees and just to soften that approach as you round Cherry Street. Interestingly, when you look at this property, it's almost, and when speaking with DPW, this is something that stuck out with me, that the property is very much paved now from end to end. And so more landscaping here exists than it ever would before, but this was a very, very creative use of the space by the team. And we don't have traditional right angles here, and are also contending with trying to create an exciting and pedestrian friendly street frontage on really what are 2 sides, but really 3 sides because of the way the geometry of the road, and to create an opportunity for completely hidden parking, which will all be underneath the buildings or within garages behind the townhomes. So there's a series of decking that actually happens here. That's not easy to read on the plans, but we'll walk you through that. Yes,
Are these numbers 1, 2, 3, 4?
that's correct. Townhome 1, 2, 3, and 4.
And you're going to refer to this as 21 and this as 11?
Yes, and number 11 may also be, I think in some of the materials are also shown as building 1 or building 2. And then we have townhome 1, 2, 3, and 4. We've tried to be consistent throughout those.
So which ones did you just say were multifamily and which ones?
Okay, so multifamily, so 11 and 21, the two larger U-shaped buildings are the multifamily buildings. And together those include 25 units total. The townhomes include 6 units within 4 townhomes. So we have 2 of the townhomes include 2 flats, and then 2 of the townhomes are single family.
Which are the 2 single family?
The 2 middle ones, 2 and 3, and 1 and 4 are the multi, are the 2 flats. Per the zoning regulations, this application also includes 3 on-site affordable units. Those will be equitably distributed. Currently, we have 2 in building 11 and another in townhome 4. And they are responsive to the revised affordable housing regulations, maintains an affordability of approximately 12%. The uses that you have here are all as of right uses. So our site plan is compliant with the village district standards and with the retail standards and the standards of 6.12 under village, including under business A, we're asking for permission to have the non-office or the general office use that's under 10,000 square feet. And to permit the wall, which is non-conforming because of its setback location, we'd like to include that as well. And then also under 7.6C, the affordable housing, and otherwise we are compliant with section 8.2A. The special permit standards are a little bit more nuanced. I'm going to save those for later after we walk through some of the architecture. So I'd like to invite Philip up to share with you his slides. I think that we can continue right from here.
Thank you.
Sorry. Hi, I think I met you guys back in January, so nice to meet you again. Maybe just start off by telling you guys a little bit about myself and about Ventana. We are one of your neighbors. We really think New Canaan's a great town. I represent the development team, but I'm also an architect first and foremost. I've trained for over 30 years. I've done work everywhere from China to France to the US. I've done a lot of work in Connecticut as well. I grew up just 5 exits down the Merritt Parkway. And one of the reasons we're here, me and one of my high school buddies, I know that sounds a little weird. One of my high school buddies always wanted to do something in the Connecticut region that could make an impact and really begin to make the towns that are here more responsive to sort of the changing ways in just the changing ways. So that said, I think, basically we looked around Fairfield County, we found this site. It's an amazing site. It's underutilized for your downtown. We think it could really contribute something to your downtown. And so we've come up with this proposal. We really think that we're here to work with you. Like, we're not here to work against you guys. And so I think the point is like, we really believe that what we're proposing here is responsive to your previous comments. We've heard your previous comments, and hopefully you see in the presentation and what I take you through a response to those comments. So I think Jackie was talking about the plan itself, and I just want to sort of correct the record a little bit. Townhouse 4 has an affordable unit at the base, correct? townhouse, I believe, and I can't read that well, my glasses are not. Townhouse 3. No, townhouse 3 is a single family townhouse, the one. Townhouse 1 has an affordable, oh, thank you so much. You recognize the glasses, right? It's hard. Townhouse 1 has an affordable in the base, and there's an affordable unit in 11 Burtis. Basically, that means there are 11 units in 21 Burtis, and there are 7 units in 11 Burtis for a total of 25 units. So we have 25 units total over the site, and we have 22 that are market rate units. I think, and maybe, one of the things about ourselves is that one of the interesting things about architecture to me, and at least the way architecture is experienced, is down through the street. And so what I'd really like to do is maybe just go through sort of what's existing there and what we're proposing. I think when we were here last, we heard from you guys that we need to understand what it looks like on the street. And so we definitely design that way. And so we've looked at what's there, and maybe we can look at what we're proposing. So we have renderings to take you guys through to hopefully do that. So can we go to the next slide? Yeah. Sorry. Right. So again, I'm going to kind of, the way we've always thought about it and designed it, I'm a designer by heart. So we've always designed down Burtis, but I think it's really interesting to flip things upside down and think about it a little bit different, particularly after what we heard from you in the last meeting. And so what we have here is we're going to start with a view of Cherry Street. And I think what you can see here is Cherry Street currently, you have Frontier on the corner of Cherry and Main. You have the library to the diagonal across the way. You have behind Frontier, you have the 8-foot vinyl fence. And now they've put a storage container on the back, the chain link fence. And then you have 18 parking spots, it's a municipal parking lot. And so I think one of the important things that we recognized right from the start was that going into that parking lot, you have 4 movements of traffic. You have a left-hand turn in, right-hand turn in, left-hand turn out, right-hand turn out. And so for us, the notion of one-way traffic was super important to improve the intersection here. So if you can go to the next one. Right. So the reality is here, what we're proposing is literally a one-way right lane turn only. So there'll be no backing up along Cherry Street. There's no waiting to turn the lot.
Thank you.
No turning in whatsoever. And again, you could see, we think it's important to front Cherry Street. What we have now is a vast sort of crevasse towards the backside of our 11 Burtis. We have a couple storage facilities back there in the backside of 21 Burtis, which is a vinyl sided 1900 stick built home, and then 25 Burtis, which is I think a 1920-30 stick built home, which is currently used and utilized as a commercial office space. So what we're proposing are 3 stately sort of townhomes fronting on Cherry, a single access out only drive. And then you can see the multifamily of 2125 in the background there. And our landscape architect will get up and talk a little bit about the plantings and what's happening with the plantings along here. Next. And you can see here, I know there was a lot of discussion the last time about height and about how high the buildings are. You can see here, it's a 2.5-story townhome, which is not uncommon in New Canaan. I think one of the earlier photos that Jackie talked about was about, we looked at your design guidelines, understanding the fieldstone, understanding the context of New Canaan, and recognizing 2.5 stories is a common height for residential here. And so the two on the left are single family, and the one on the right actually is a duplex market on the top and a duplex affordable housing unit on the base. And then you can see again in the background the multifamily. So and obviously we can talk about heights. I don't want to go through it with you. If questions, we're happy to answer those questions. Next. So again, walking around the site and seeing what's existing here, you have the view from Burtis and Cherry. As we know, Burtis is one-way street. You currently have Fieldstone on the sort of, I guess, the left side of the slide, and then you can see the covered portion is actually a concrete block wall that's covered with vegetation. We're proposing to actually maintain the Fieldstone and then to remove the block wall and replace it with Fieldstone that matches the existing. The Fieldstone then rises up along Burtis. And I just want to be clear about that point. Our property line is actually on the top of the Fieldstone wall. We're actually not to the corner. So when we talk about height and measurement, unless we're knocking down the Fieldstone wall, we're basically up at the height of the Fieldstone wall, which is about 7 feet. So we think it's important, after looking at your design guidelines where we saw how buildings were placed on top of Fieldstone walls, to begin to think about how the Fieldstone wall could begin to inform the architecture, which we think works nicely in our proposal. So this is what we have currently. Obviously, you can see the sort of 1920 stick-built back behind the Fieldstone wall. And then the next slide.
Lynn, we need
Next
the next slide, please.
Sorry. So you can see here, we're proposing, this is the 2125 multifamily. We're retaining the street tree on the corner. It's not our property, but we're saying we're going to make sure that it's okay and that it works. And the landscape architect here will jump in on this. On the lower level here, I think we heard the last time from you guys the idea of looking to 21 Forest. And when we begin to look at 21 Forest, you understand the change of heights and how you can begin to step up. And so what we have here is the Fieldstone wall being rehabilitated and maintained. And then you have an amenity space in the wood screen zone sort of at the front. And then you have the two multifamilies sitting sort of up on the Fieldstone wall. Next. Again, we can talk about heights, but you can see here the existing Fieldstone wall, how the multifamily sits up. One of the notions around this, and I think the last time we were here, we talked about simply the elevations, but the height that you're seeing is actually set back 17 feet from the street wall. So because of the nature of the typology that we're using in terms of architecture, it actually sits first 6 feet back and then 11 feet back. So it's 17 feet to the top height of the building. And then just walking around and seeing into sort of the I guess what you'd call semi-private courtyard. Here, this is, people will move up into the courtyard and actually move into their units. This is in the multifamily building. The idea is we're not creating these multifamily typical type units where you walk down long hallways. This is literally you walk into the lobby, up into an open plaza, and then into your individual unit. The hope here is that we're creating something that's both a benefit to the users, but also something that recognizes the sort of health benefits of being outside and COVID and everything else. Next. So I think one of the big things that we heard the last time was around Burtis and Burtis Avenue. And I think someone had brought up the notion of how tight Burtis is right at the front of when you turn down off Main. And we recognize that. And so we heard you guys. And I think what we tried to do was was actually improve it a little bit. And so if you see the Victorian on the right here, you could see the existing location of 11 Burtis, which actually sits proud of the Victorian. What we tried to do was actually hear the comment. And so what we did was we set back the mass. So it sits back another 1.5 feet. So essentially your sidewalk there, instead of being 4 feet, becomes 5.5 feet wide, which is actually wider than anywhere along Burtis. And then and I can't remember the exact measurement, but along Burtis, it basically until about, I want to say 60 feet, it then steps back out. So maybe we can go to the next. We can see, so this is what's existing, and then can we go to the next photo? So you can begin to see how we've set back the mass off of the street, so creating a wider sidewalk there. And you can begin to see the entry into 11 Burtis, but you can also see the retail frontage, which is the same amount of retail frontage that exists today. So the idea was not to try and cannibalize retail from the rest of downtown, but rather to match what's existing today.
Are you able to take down that telephone pole?
We're gonna,
Two sides.
we're gonna, yeah, we're gonna work really hard on taking down that telephone pole. I think our idea would be that because that telephone pole only services 21, 25, and 11 Burtis, that will work with the authorities to actually bury most of those, not only the telephone pole, but also the electrical and the other things. I think it improves greatly, and we're completely committed to doing that. So I think if you go back one, can you go back one, Lynn? You can see here what Burtis looks like today, and we actually believe that by setting back, dealing from a community perspective around how the utilities are managed here, that we can actually improve Burtis tremendously. So that's our hope. So we're going to work on it, and you can see we're committed to bringing the streetlights from downtown into this district as well. We think one of the things, and we've talked to some of our neighbors, Brock and others, around figuring out how to make that happen. So we're committed to making those streetlights happen in this district, I think, and just to keep going. So you can see again, here's the heights. We've dropped the overall height of the buildings along Burtis by about 9 feet, just after we met with you guys. We've taken out the live work, but we've provided the retail still. And we're hopeful that this is responsive to both the fieldstone that exists there, but also bringing something into the downtown that respects downtown, that beige tone, which is so prevalent along Forest. You know, oftentimes what I see when I walk along Forest are brick facades painted beige or yellow, and so for us, these materials, and maybe at this moment, can I hand out materials to show you guys what we're thinking? So, and sorry I missed this the last time, but for the townhomes, this is the brick that we're proposing. It's Roman brick. So unlike a painted brick, it's actually integral to the clay. Can I find it? Sure. You guys can have a feel of it. So that's sort of the idea, is that there's this looks heavy, you know, a high quality material that fronts, that isn't painted, but rather is integral to the brick and the material. It's a high-end material. And then on those, I'm just gonna kind of quit. I'm trying to miss my cues on handing these out to you guys, but I think the ideas are.
Why don't you start at that end?
Oh,
We'll
sorry.
take it. Yeah, let's do it that way.
Here's the standing seam, and that's the metal railing that we're proposing. Obviously, the wood is a really warm sort of. And then when we get to the multifamily, this idea of a limestone, and limestone is often thought of as like a very light and stark material. What we're trying to get at is more of a honey, or a Jerusalem gold sort of material. And so this particular stone It'd be, I think, what is it, 15 feet, 15 inches by 5 feet. And thinking about how that material brings a warmth to the street. Obviously, the thing about Vertex is because it's north facing, it's very dark. It's shaded in today, and so the idea is to bring a little warmth and a little lightness. And we're hopeful with this material, not instead of being brick where you have sort of a segmented facade that a new sort of warm facade could really could work there. And then this is the windows and doors, the metal. So those are material palettes. Again, I think last time we were together, we talked about 3 materials. Yeah.
Where's the limestone?
Sorry, what's that?
The limestone, where is it on the?
Oh, sorry, it's basically the facade of both 2125 and 11 Burtis. So, yeah, we can show. I know it's hard to render it and get a real sense of.
What's a joint look like?
Right now, I think we're. You want to answer that? What is the joint?
Open joint or closed joints, but
Step to the podium, please.
yes, I'm Jennifer from Replace. With that system, it's a rain screen system and it has the option for a closed or open joint. And basic, I mean, that's
Good, it's a good system.
yeah.
Right. Next. So just walking down, and I know there was a lot of discussion the last time about access through the site. And so we've been really pressing our team and the idea is that this sort of, and I want to call it a driveway. It's a one-way driveway. It's only for residents to park down below. We've met with the fire department chief and he was comfortable with it. He recognizes that it isn't for access of trucks. We are not proposing trucks actually ever drive down here, either fire trucks, delivery trucks. We have plans associated with all those that we've submitted to DPW. There are a lot of questions around that. The idea is this is a driveway. And so it's a one-way drive. You can see here, you come down the drive off of Burtis, you take a left to park under 2125 Burtis, and you take a right to park under 11 Burtis. I think the number of spaces that we currently have is 50 spaces, including the 6 spaces in the townhomes. Currently on the site, we have 45 spaces to service the commercial or the office uses there that come and go all day. Our hope is that by being transit-oriented development, that we're not driving in and out all day, and that there's a nice sort of rhythm to the drive and to the cars, and that we're able to afford a bit of walking down here as well. Yes. And so so then just to turn right, and so if you saw the last slide where you're driving down and you turn right, this is the plaza that's up above on the right in 11 Burtis. And as currently envisioned, we have sort of a play area, and I want to use this lightly, a playful area, a playful open space, and our landscape architects will talk a little bit about it. But this is what we're proposing. Next. And so as you drive down, this is the plaza below, and we heard you guys about conflicting between pedestrians and cars. And so what we've done is we've actually lifted the pedestrians up. And so you can see plazas that are accessed from Cherry Street. So those back gardens are actually for the townhomes. And so this notion that it's multi-layered, and then the cars for the townhomes would drive underneath and into the garages down below. And then obviously to the right or to the left on the slide, you would exit in a one-way fashion out towards Cherry Street. And this is a view from the townhomes garage out towards the backside of the multifamily. It's about parking. We can talk about that in questions. I want to. Or
Could you, excuse me, could you describe the service exactly, you know, box trucks, where they're going to park, where are deliveries? You know, that,
somebody, Jackie, you want to do it? Yeah, we could.
I'm happy to.
sorry.
We can advance that, in fact. In our meetings, Jackie
Go ahead.
Kaufman, again, for the record, Linda, if you would please, advance several slides for me, probably about 10. If you just go quickly through them, we'll come back to these. Okay, let's go back to that one right there. One back. Perfect. Thank you so much. So in our conversation, we were fortunate, we were able to have a meeting with the fire marshal, with DPW and with zoning. And received a lot of good comments about that. And also originally, what we had proposed is on Burtis Avenue, that is that number one? Is that, yeah, the orange, no, oh, that one right there. The plus, but the existing one is the pink one at the end, right there. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Lynn. Now the first number one, all the way to the left, that's an existing loading space. And that services not just the building it's in front of, but many businesses throughout up and down Burtis Avenue. And following the paper in the police commission, there have been several loading spaces that have been removed within the downtown in favor of 15-minute parking spaces. And those would be either for people making quick stops into a store or also to service, per the police commission's record, to serve as a temporary loading zone for, say, an Amazon truck or a delivery truck, a box car to come out. And so the expectation was that that loading zone would be utilized by this redevelopment. That's how it's being used. It's being used now, unless a delivery truck pulls into some of the existing spaces, but often it's very easy for a truck to use it, and it's not exclusive. It's not exclusive to any one property. So we understand, and we've received comments from the town that may not be desirable, and that a dedicated loading space, or at least the addition of a different loading space. We've asked for a special permit to remove the loading space requirement from the site. And we received some comments that may not be desirable. So what Emily has done here is created a diagram that shows you the +1. That's an extra loading space that is going to be proposed outside of 11 Burtis. What you see are the other existing spaces that already exist for on-street parking. So the takeaway from this, which we can talk through a little bit more if you'd like, but the takeaway is that one existing loading space is there now. A second loading space will be proposed, and all of the existing on-street parking that exists today will remain. It will be jockeyed. And I had a very high level conversation with DPW about it. And conceptually, they were in favor of it if we could make that work. However, they have not seen or blessed this plan. Maria is on vacation until next week. But this is a concept in response to how loading will happen. So what we also have done is we submitted plans to you, operational plans about how mail would be delivered, Amazon trucks would be delivered, and how people would move in and move out at the request of staff. But that information is somewhat dated because now we have this plan here that shows that we'll have an additional loading space. And also we suggest that that space be signed, that it is a loading space by day and it becomes citizen parking to anyone in the after hours. And if we advance to the next slide as well, just to talk a little, since we're on operations, we have logistic plans for trash removal that was also requested. The expectation is we could walk you through where the plans, you can see the trash area highlighted here. And then those bins will be brought out by management to the area within the site or right off. And then the trash truck will pull in off of Cherry Street and back in there, and then remove the trash. We'll have we have a narrative as well to accompany this information for you. Yes,
So I assume that truck will not head in.
no, that's correct.
Backs in.
It backs in, and we reviewed this with the fire marshal. That would be the same too, because there's access. Actually, the garbage truck can come up, just can back in right to that spot and then pull right back out, and it takes no time based on the information you have there. Architects are used to working in urban environments, so they're, yeah, would you like to speak that?
So-
Sure.
So I just think one of the things about the plan here and about the development is it's going to be a managed development. There's going to be a concierge at the front. It isn't going to be trash every day. The reality is trash will have a refrigerated trash storage down in the base of the building. When trash is picked up, there'll be someone who drags the trash out. It'll last no longer than 30 an hour before the trash is gone. You know, the people who are going to move into the development aren't going to want to sit and watch trash sit out there. So our goal set has been to manage that. I think same with loading. We're lucky enough because of the reduction in curb cuts to actually end up with a significant amount of space there where we can put a new loading space. So that's because of the fact that it is a managed development that we're able to provide that. That's the idea.
I think the draft will include facilities for recyclables and
Of-
composting.
Absolutely. We've run all the numbers on the number of units that we're providing. And I personally have run those numbers to know how much trash will be produced, how much recyclables will be produced, and we've sized the trash storage accordingly. So,
You mentioned composting. Is that in your plan?
you know, we haven't done composting. And I know the last time we were here, we talked a lot about sustainability. But we'll bring that comment back and we'll think about composting. I think one of the comments and one of the topics we talked about the last time was around sustainability. We haven't talked much about it here. We are still committed to this being a sustainable community development. And so we do have geothermal and we do have solar panels. We have rainwater capture. We're not dumping the rainwater directly into the sewer system. We're trying to use it for other things. So we're 100% committed to being a good neighbor with regards to that. So
So there are two different green areas, trash areas. One's a trash area, and that's where I would bring my bags and put it in a dumpster in a trash can. And then somebody else brings it from the trash area to the private trash pickup from Perry Street to Perry Highway. And which one of those is refrigerated and why?
so one of the big things about trash is smell.
Right?
And so when you refrigerate trash, it doesn't smell. And so the interior zone there would be, the interior zone there would be refrigerated. And so people would go in, throw their trash in the refrigerated area, and there would be recyclable in there as well. And so that residents would bring their trash into that room. It would be there. And then when trash pickup happens, the concierge would actually, or the building manager would bring the trash out of that room, place it out on the street, and that's where it's picked up. So that's
And you
sort
have to
of,
walk all the way around.
no, there's a door right. Each door there, there's a door. You see the green dot? This north of the green dot is actually the dotted green line. It's actually covering a door, but there's a door there. So they would actually just wheel the trash through the door and out to the corner there.
Okay, maybe if we can stop there for a few minutes, please, Ms. Kaufman. We need to close, we have to do a little bit of bureaucracy here. So this special meeting is closed. Lynn, do you need a few minutes before we start the next meeting, or are we good to go? Okay, so we'll take about 5 minutes.